The story starts with Madame Li and her 4 daughters arriving in the capital by carriage. Madame Li was rich in her hometown, but after her husband died, she stayed a widow to raise their 5 daughters alone. Her late husband's family treated them badly, so she decided to leave town with her daughters. In the city, they visit her second daughter, Fuhui, who is married to a rich family's son. They expect a warm welcome, but instead, a servant turns them away. They have to stay at an inn. Madame Li is angry and hurt, thinking Fuhui is ungrateful, but Fuhui has her own problems. Her husband, Liang Han, is spoiled and unfaithful. Fuhui is angry with him and even hits him sometimes, but his mother always protects him. Fuhui has to hold in her feelings and deal with it quietly. That night, Kong Ning, Madame Li's third daughter, secretly follows Fuhui and learns the truth. They meet at the inn, and the sisters promise to help Fuhui earn her husband's respect without using violence. Fuhui blames herself for not being a gentle wife, but her sisters support her. The next morning, Liang Han pretends to be sick to get attention from some maids. Instead of getting angry, Fuhui follows Kong Ning's advice and gives him a magic cure, actually just vinegar and salt, but she pretends it's child's urine. Liang Han is scared and obeys her from then on. Liang Han's cousin, Chanan, is a young, successful merchant who owns the city's most famous tavern. He notices Kong Ning's cleverness and is curious about her. The next day, while Madame Li and her daughters are having tea in Liang Han's garden, 2 of Liang Han's friends see them and are curious because the sisters are beautiful. Instead of greeting them politely, the men pretend to be servants to get closer. Kong Ning figures it out quickly and slaps one of them as a warning. When one insults her, the youngest sister, Lishan, jumps in and beats him up. The man complains to Chanan and Liang Han, which makes Chanan even more interested in Kong Ning. To get her attention, he kicks a ball into the garden and accidentally breaks her hair comb. Kong Ning isn't impressed, but she notices him for the first time. Madame Li wants all her daughters to marry good men from good families. She takes them to a temple to pray for good matches. She puts their picture on the altar with an offering, but a thief steals it. Then the thief returns it, saying the offering is too cheap. Madame Li and her daughters then learn a hard truth. In the capital, it's hard and expensive for girls to get married. The groom's family not only looks at the bride's beauty and character, her family's reputation, but also expects a large dowry. Madame Li is very stressed by this realization. The 5 sisters discuss and decide that, with their beauty and personalities, they won't have trouble finding husbands. However, to feel confident in marriage, they want their own careers. They rent a place in the city center to open a tea shop, right across from Chanan's tavern, hoping to benefit from his business traffic. Chanan quickly sees their plan. To challenge Kong Ning, he starts selling tea and snacks at his tavern, making the Li family's shop struggle. But the sisters don't give up. Kong Ning even buys all the popular snacks in the city to learn what customers like. Meanwhile, Liang Han complains to his mother, who suggests he take a concubine to have a more obedient wife. This makes Fuhui very sad, but Kong Ning has a plan. She advises Fuhui to agree with the idea. Liang Han interviews many candidates but doesn't like any of them. Then he meets a beautiful courtesan at Chanan's tavern and chooses her as his concubine. On the day of the ceremony, the courtesan cries and reveals she is the daughter of an official, kidnapped and sold into slavery. Liang Han's father panics because forcing an official's daughter into concubinage is a serious crime. He quickly sends the girl back to her family and beats Liang Han for being foolish. Fuhui begs her father-in-law to forgive Liang Han, which makes Liang Han very grateful to her. Little does he know, Kong Ning had planned everything from the start. Madame Li and her 5 daughters upgrade their tea shop into an art tea shop, attracting more attention and success. Later, Chanan tells Liang Han about the sisters Li's setup. To get back at the Li family and teach Kong Ning a lesson, Chanan pulls a prank. He sends his men to the tea shop, pretending to be a seller and a dealer of a guqin. The seller claims he has to leave quickly, while the dealer tries to convince him to wait because a rich buyer will pay 300 strings of cash for it. Madame Li sees the contract, believes them, and offers 180 strings of cash to the seller, hoping to earn a big commission. She waits all day, but the buyer never shows up, and both the seller and dealer disappear. Realizing she was scammed, Madame Li cries loudly. Her daughters rush over and find out that Madame Li even threw the instrument away in frustration. Kong Ning goes looking for it and hears someone playing the guqin from Chanan's place. She realizes it was a prank from him. Determined to get back at him, Kong Ning sets up a counter trap. The next day at the temple, Madame Li and a maid go to pray. Madame Li bows in the yard, catching Chang'an's mother's attention. Madame Li tells her that the gods answered her prayers for her daughter's marriages with the help of a shaman. Meanwhile, on the road, Kong Ning stops Chang'an and confronts him about messing with her family. Chang'an says he only wanted to warn them to be careful doing business in the capital. He then tells his man to give Kong Ning back 150 strings of cash, keeping 30 as a lesson fee to annoy her even more. After tricking Kong Ning, Chang'an goes home only to find his mother has donated 180 strings of cash to a temple. Kong Ning teases him by sending a message thanking him for the donation and even donates all the money to charity. Chang'an isn't mad but grows more intrigued by her cleverness. Meanwhile, Yang Xian, a rich young man and the king's brother-in-law, finds a picture of Shou Hua, Madame Li's first daughter. He goes after her, forcing her to show her face. But Li Shan leads a group of beggars to ambush him, ripping his clothes and stealing his money while the sisters escape. Furious, Yang Xian plots revenge. Later, Madame Li gets into a fight with Chang'an's mother. Kong Ning and Chang'an stop the fight, and Madame Li uses the gathered crowd to sell her hangover soup, boosting their business. To get back at them, Yang Xian falsely claims he lost a pearl at the Li house. To protect her sisters, Kong Ning takes the blame, saying she is the one who embarrassed him. Yang Xian tries to force her to marry him as a concubine. With his family's power, the Li family doesn't know what to do. Liang Han asks Chang'an for help, but Chang'an wants Kong Ning to personally request it. When he sees her and Madame Li go to his tavern, he is smug, thinking she came to beg him. However, she goes there to speak with Yang Xian instead. To Chang'an's surprise, Kong Ning and Madame Li seem to agree to Yang Xian's marriage demand. But Chang'an quickly realizes it is a trap. Kong Ning gets Yang Xian drunk and tricks him into writing a suggestive poem on a beautiful red dress. The Li sisters then embroider the poem with pearls and put the dress up for sale, hoping someone from the palace will buy it. When a palace servant hesitates to buy it, Chang'an steps in and acts interested. Seeing this, the palace servant rushes to purchase it, wanting it for a concubine. The next day, as Yang Xian and his men arrive to take Kong Ning, the Li family stalls for time. Meanwhile, in the palace, a concubine wears the dress before the emperor. When he sees Yang Xian's handwriting on it, he is furious and immediately orders punishment for Yang Xian. Just as Yang Xian is about to seize Kong Ning, Chang'an arrives and forces him to retreat in shame. Fu Hui later tells Kong Ning that Chang'an likely speeds up the process for the dress to reach the emperor in time. Wanting to thank Chang'an, Kong Ning brings him a basket of pastries. However, she overhears his bad friend boasting about helping Yang Xian find the Li house. Realizing he is the true cause of the trouble, she confronts them and assumes Chang'an is also involved. From that moment, she despises Chang'an and his group. Chang'an is now furious with both Kong Ning and his friend. But the troublemaker doesn't stop. He tricks Chang'an into lending him his mother's jade comb, claiming he needs to make a replica. At the Li house, Madame Li buys flower hairpins for her daughters but excludes Xiong Nu, an adopted girl once engaged to Kong Ning's late twin brother. Xiong Nu overhears this and feels hurt. Chang'an's bad friend frequently visits the tea shop, giving her small gifts while pretending they are from Chang'an. Since Xiong Nu secretly admires Chang'an, she believes him. One day, the friend gifts her the jade comb and arranges a secret meeting at night, claiming her admirer will be there. Xiong Nu goes but doesn't return for a long time. When Madame Li hears this, she suspects Xiong Nu has done something shameful. Furious, she beats and interrogates her. Xiong Nu stays silent and only cries. Kong Ning and Shou Hua stop Madame Li and comfort Xiong Nu. Later, while alone, Xiong Nu attempts to hang herself. Fortunately, a maid finds her in time, and she is saved. Kong Ning scolds her, saying she is an important sister to her. Even though Madame Li is still angry, she tells Xiong Nu not to take such drastic actions over a small matter. Xiong Nu then reveals that she realizes the man's bad intentions, so she smashes a vase on his head and escapes before anything happens to her. Meanwhile, Chang'an's bad friend lies, saying he needs to retrieve the jade comb from the Li family. Kong Ning, believing Chang'an is behind Xiong Nu's suffering, confronts him. She slaps him, smashes the comb in front of him, and even throws water on him. Chang'an is left stunned, not understanding what just happened.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.